What are we talking about today?
Legacy and estate.
Talking about leaving a legacy. Talking about transitioning your estate, but doing it, like she said, my angle is transferring your values and not just your estate and focusing only on that aspect. What's your name again? Ishan. We were talking earlier, we were talking about these robo-advisors and how they're getting better and better, and these algorithms getting better and better, and CFAs, CFPs, client-facing individuals needing to find ways to differentiate themselves from these robo-advisors. And I gave like a little bit of thought to it. So obviously the difference between a human and a robo-advisor is no duh, it's self-defining that you guys are humans, you have that human interaction. But I wanted to see if there's like an underlying principle. And I think I figured it out. I think it's whenever a client needs something that's less about the information and it's more about the motivation, that's where you guys should really be interested in making yourselves better or unique and differentiating yourselves from a robo-advisor. So again, it's wherever you guys can find that's less about the information and more about the motivation. Hey, market drops, you need that human connection to convince a client, hey, this is literally the worst time to pull out. Do not do that. They need to be motivated to do that by you guys as humans. And I thought, hey man, I feel like being a public speaker, you got some job security there. I mean, imagine Siri coming up with AI, giving a, hi guys, welcome to the, I don't know why that's my Siri impression right there. She has that little tweak. That's kind of where I'm coming from too, is I feel like today is going to be more about the motivation, less about the information. I'm going to offer you guys takeaways. I actually brought 10 takeaways. I'll let you guys pick and choose from the remaining 9, but I want to hit home 1 today. It's going to be more about the motivation and less about the information as it pertains to transitioning your values and really investing in your families. So who here, by the way, with a show of hands is client-facing? Probably most of you guys. Most of you guys, not you. You're still gonna get some benefit out of this for your personal benefit. And if you ever one day become client-facing, you'll still benefit. But especially for those of you that are client-facing, I really think you're gonna derive some value out of this. So let me begin by disqualifying myself. Going back to this whole, not about the information, all about the motivation. I'm 24 years old. 24 years old. I'm a kid, very young. That's actually the thing that I feel like makes me qualified to speak on this topic about, is because, I mean, let's be honest, 24 years old, my childhood was like yesterday. Imagine like if anyone have teenagers in the room? Anyone? Okay. So imagine if like a teenager could do some introspective reflecting and then come up here and talk with you guys about what makes him or her tick, what motivates them, what's interesting them, what gets them passionate, what gets them excited, what gets them, whatever. Like imagine if, I feel like that's like my unique selling proposition is I was so recently right there, and then all of a sudden here I am, just a few years later, able to have authority in speaking about that topic, okay? So with that being said, tonight will not be a night filled with advanced estate planning techniques. You guys could wipe the floor with me with your knowledge about estate planning, but I do have authority as it pertains to understanding what children in particular need, because I'm so right there in age. So that leads me to talk about some of my qualifications, but I'm not doing it to brag. You'll see like it's going to be like, oh, why is he saying all this stuff? Talk about these things, and then I'm gonna tie it in with some sacrifices that my parents made that made all the difference in my life. And it's gonna be like this, explosion in your mind when I connect the dots for you. So let me begin by saying, in addition to being so young, I feel like I had a few early successes in my life that makes me qualified to stand up here and speak on this topic, because I feel like I am the walking, talking example of what your clients hope their kids become by my age. So going back to high school, I went to Newport Harbor High School. Anyone went to Newport Harbor? Boo, CDM, boo, CDM. Good, Newport, yes. Went to Newport Harbor, and there I was a huge soccer guy. I played soccer all of my life. And in high school, I did score the most goals in Sunset League, and it allowed me to be the cover of the Daily Pilot. Like huge ego boost. I know parents were like, oh, I want my son or my daughter to do that. Fast forward to graduation. It was like classic, like gave the grad speech. It's like another checkbox I know parents would long for their kids to do. Funny enough, I actually didn't have my parents' support on that one because I wanted to do like this like rap with it. And my dad, he's like a big time musician. He wrote like 1,000 songs. And he wasn't into the idea. And it like almost like, oh, I'm gonna do this in spite of you, you know, like, so I wrote this rap and I auditioned and they gave it to me. And, so I gave my grad speech. Big old check for, what executives want their sons to become at a young age. Fast forward to college, my soccer allowed me to get a full ride soccer scholarship to the school of my choice, saving like $36,000 a year, some stupid tuition, all paid for because of soccer. So there's like another check, right? Even all throughout school, I got a 4.0 GPA, not even an A minus, like killed it grade-wise. Check, right? Upon graduating, I started an SEO business, got mentored by a guy, learned, do you guys know what SEO is? Search engine optimization. I own like a SEO firm right now. It's doing pretty well, but it's, like I said, it's doing really well, but there's like another check, what like executives want their sons to be successful financially at a young age. I feel like, that's been happening. And then I write this book and it becomes a bestseller on Amazon. And it launches me into like this public speaking. I don't know if it's a career. We'll see how long it lasts. But this public speaking, all by the age of 22 years old. Super young. Found the success super young. Okay? Not bragging for the sake of bragging. It has a purpose, and here it is. So hold that thought for just a second. Okay? This guy's got a few accolades for a young age. This isn't like Nobel Peace Prize, Pulitzer Prize winning stuff, right? This is like very cool for like a 22-year-old. On the world scale, like, let's be honest, like I'm not anyone yet, but I have what I feel like is like what executives want their sons or their daughters to be, like just right there, right? So hold that thought and let me share my family story with you guys. So we did grow up in Eastside Costa Mesa, but my parents we lived very frugally. They were struggling financially all my life. Not struggling, but, we lived pretty frugally. My mom was actually, funny enough, she was on full-time commission as she was a headhunter, full-time commission, and she was actually the steady income on full-time commission. My dad, he was just up and down. He was not, often it was the case, he was not making a lot of money here and there, because what had happened was prior to my sister and I being born, he was on tour. He was a rock and roll guy. He's still got the long hair and like a gazillion YouTube subscribers. You could look him up, Ken Tamplin. He's like awesome. And he made a commitment when I was born and when my sister was born. He made a commitment to no longer be on tour because he wanted to be like a family man. He wanted to be with his family. And this is like the overarching theme of tonight is like really investing in your family. He made those commitments when I was born. So we struggled pretty poorly, but when we really struggled, I would say, was during that financial crisis of 07, 08, because on top of the housing market crashing, me living in LA now, I can relate with this a lot more. There was this big writers' strike. The Writers Guild of America went on strike, and they stopped producing movies for a good while. And my dad at the time, his full-time profession was placing music in film and TV. And so you can imagine when no new movies are being produced and your profession is placing music in film and television, and my mom, as a recruiter, it's not the best business to be in when unemployment is through the roof and you're trying to get paid to find, place people in jobs. So she was out of luck, my dad was out of luck, and they fell in some hard times. And I think it's okay for me to share numbers. Like, I don't know. They might get mad at me saying this. We were $90,000 in debt, and they were freaking out. And even though I was young, I remember the fights. Like, I remember the hard times. Like, it was really dark. It was really sad. And my dad gets this call when I was 13 years old. My sister was 15. He gets the call of a lifetime during his darkest days. He gets the call to become the lead singer for Journey, the band Journey. No joke. So when Steve Perry was exiting, They found him through some other means. He's a great singer, fantastic vocalist, like crazy octave range, amazing singer. But I was 13, my sister was 15, and there was one catch. It was a 5-year touring contract. So he was going to be gone for some of the most formational years of my life, 13 to 18, my sister as well, some very formational years. I don't know how much he would have made, to be honest, but imagine, put yourself in his shoes for just a second. You are freaking out. Oh, by the way, he was going to be either like working at In-N-Out Burger or being a Census Bureau counter, going door to door at $12 an hour, because the dude just needed to make some money. And then he gets this call. So I want you guys to think about it. Like, what would you do? What would you do? Would you take the gig? What's crazy?
Depends on the maturity of my children.
Yes.
True.
And he's being a provider.
He is being a provider as well. So I'm gonna tell you guys what he did, and I'm gonna tie it into my story. So thank you for the feedback. Yeah, feel free to hop in. I'm gonna tell you what he did. So first and foremost, he was a Christian, so he prayed a lot and felt like he should not take the gig, and also felt deep conviction because of commitments he had made prior, and just knowing that he was going to be gone for 5 years straight, and that I and my sister were going to be the son of a rock star. He turned the offer down. And what's crazy, you guys, if you think about it, is whenever you think of celebrities, whenever you think of anyone with these like crazy journey-like gigs, these massive influencers, you hear about them having children, and it's like, oh yeah, that's Sylvester Stallone's daughter, but it's like, she's only somebody because of like him, right? Think about it. Tonight you're hearing from the 13-year-old kid. Crazy. His decision, I am fully convinced, to turn that offer down. And you're right, he was a provider, going through immense stress. He needed to do it. But you're hearing from the kid. That's crazy. Did this click for you guys? I mean, do you feel the weight of this? You're hearing from the kid tonight, and I am 100% convinced that had my dad taken, so let's talk about it. Had my dad taken the Journey gig, I feel like I've been given a good amount of aptitude. Would have been without a father for 5 years, but I think even without a firm foundation, without a dad in my life, I probably eventually would have probably found success or figured it out. But would I have found success at such a young age, the little successes that I do have? No way. There's no way. I'd be figuring myself out. I'd be wondering who I am, and I'd be a different person. So, maybe there's actually an entire award, I think, that goes specifically to people that overcame extreme circumstances, called the Horatio Alger Award, strictly dedicated to people that overcame, crazy hardship and then found success later in life. And I wouldn't have been on that level. Let's be honest, people grow up without a father all the time. So I know that it's possible that maybe later on in life I would have found some level of success. But at such a young age, checking these boxes, the full ride, the grad speech, the public speaker thing, no way. I attribute so much, in fact, pretty much everything that I have accomplished up till now, I attribute it to his sacrifice. And my mom is amazing too. It's total solid rock, fought super hard for us financially and in other ways. I attribute the early successes and successes that I have from here on out to the sacrifices that they made, because it's made all the difference. And since I've talked on this and kind of done the whole book thing and the public speaking thing, I've had a lot of interesting conversations with dads in particular. And let me just clear one thing up. So my book's name is Raising an Executive, Igniting Your Son's Inner Executive. Let me just clear up. So I wrote it from the first person. I'm a son, I'm a male. My dad had a really large, kind of sexier story, if you will. My mom is still amazing, but it's emphasizing dads and it's emphasizing the son simply because that was me. That was me. So there's no agenda here. Just want to clear that up. But I started on this journey as a result of this book and the public speaking, and I've gotten to talk with a lot of dads in particular. And one other story that I feel like is more realistic, something that you guys that are client-facing are probably going to run up against. is this guy, Jeff, who was kind of a bigger engineer over at Disney, in Disneyland in Anaheim. And he was offered, as well as his boss was offered, the opportunity to move to Shanghai when they were opening up a new Disneyland out there, to move out there and manage. Jeff was going to get to manage, same with his boss, 10 times the assets with compensation that reflected the increase. But he was going to have to move to Shanghai. And I'm going to tell you what he did. I'm going to tell you what his boss did. And I'm going to tell you what the outcome was. So Jeff was also a family man. And he had, we're going to talk about this more, fixed, immovable commitments to his family. Commitments that could not be shaken to his family. So when he got the offer, was it baiting him? Was it attractive? Absolutely. But he ended up turning the offer down. And to be honest, shortly later, he was let go. As a result, this was a big deal. But he didn't want to move to Shanghai because he loved his family. And his boss, interestingly enough, he took the gig, moved to Shanghai, kind of tried to make it work by moving the family out there too, and then they moved back and he was out there alone. It was just really messy. And it's interesting to know where both of them ended up. I want to share it with you. So truth be told, his boss, he thinks, is probably wealthier than he is. From time to time, they will meet up and he'll talk with them. So his boss is probably a little bit wealthier, but his family hates him. Family hates him, hates his guts. He's divorced and his kids won't talk to him. So sad. And with Jeff, huge, big, beautiful, robust family, and he's done very well for himself. He's got rental properties out in Hawaii. In fact, he's got an entire apartment complex. To be honest, you guys, I'd guess he's probably still one of the part of the top 1%, with how well he's doing. But he chose his family. And what's so interesting, this journey that I've been taken down because of the whole book thing and the public speaking thing, having these conversations with dads, time and time and time again, the dads that prioritize their family often get both. It's so interesting. And more often than not, so the example I offered you was genuine because his boss probably is more financially well off than Jeff is as a result of pursuing whatever sacrifices need to happen on the family front for his career. He did over time probably acquire more wealth. I've talked with a lot of people. Those that opt for sacrificing their family for their career in the long haul often end up with neither. And those that sacrifice a little bit of their career, actually funny enough, I gotta share. Chapter 1 of my book is called Sacrificing Your Journey. It's a play on words. Sacrificing your journey. Those that sacrifice their journey, they end up getting both. And I think it's so interesting. It's so interesting. So my first and primary takeaway for tonight is I want to convince you guys to have, and for your clients as well, to have fixed, immovable commitments to your family. And I'm not saying, therefore, don't work. I'm not saying don't work hard, don't work long hours, don't go through seasons. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, though, that you should, if you care more about your family, which I think we all do, because at the end of the day, all we have is relationships. Actually, we're going to conclude with an exercise that I think will convince you into how much you care about relationships. We'll end with that. It's going to be cool. I think what you guys care about at the end of the day is relationships. And so if it's the case that you care the most about relationships, as soon as you confuse what your priorities are, things get messy. Honestly, you guys lose sight of it. And I know we all get caught up in the daily routine and the house upgrades and this, that, and the other. But you guys, I want to convince you guys tonight and your clients when you have these conversations. Oh, quick caveat. I have to say this. For those of you that are very interested in wealth creation for yourself, I'm telling you, the more you desire to create wealth, but in spite of that, choose to prioritize family, however that looks for you, you have a more powerful firsthand testimony to your clients because you can explicate or explain the thought processes and the inner convictions and what you're going through as a result of still prioritizing family, even with the deep yearning to create wealth. Okay, so I'm just saying, Don't walk away from here being like, oh, this guy doesn't know my situation. I'm here to tell you, like, you could have a bigger and better influence on your clients the more you're inclined to create wealth for yourself if you are doing this the right way. So the first and primary takeaway that I want to leave with you guys tonight is if you prioritize family and you prioritize relationships, to have these fixed, immovable commitments that nothing will get in the way of you over the long haul spending time with your family. Practically what this looks like is if you are in an executive position, let's say, and you're asked to sit on a board of a nonprofit that you're almost required to be on, you can say, that's okay, I'll do it, but this is going to eat away at my responsibilities as an executive. This won't eat away into my personal life or into my family time. See the nuance? So you can still take advantage of opportunities, but this is fixed. This is immovable. And then this is time allocated to working very hard with all your might. But the people that I'm seeing be the most successful and leaving a legacy are those that have this one quality, which is having fixed, immovable commitments to their family. And let me tell you guys, Ken Tamplin, my father, as a result of investing in me and sacrificing his journey, that man has left a legacy. So with that being said, I'm going to leave you guys with a crazy, crazy, crazy ending. It's going to be intense. I hope it doesn't scare anyone, but last month, sorry, am I making you nervous? Why are you laughing? I'm curious now. It's funny. It's funny. Okay. Well, last month, as you know, was September. We had 9/11, and I was reading up on just survival stories, to be honest. And I'm going to relay a survival story, but I'd ask that everyone actually close their eyes and picture what this guy John relayed. He was a survivor of 9/11. Close your eyes and picture this. John saw the other tower collapse, and from the 64th floor, he is sprinting down the stairwell as fast as he can. And he was at the 12th floor when all of a sudden he hears the pancaking sound of the building collapsing down on him. He knows that his time has come. You are running down. You know that your time has come. It took 9.2 seconds for the building to collapse and for John to know that he was going to die. And I want you guys to think whatever thoughts you would think at the very end of your life in this stairwell. I'm going to count to 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's done. You guys can open up your eyes. John thought about God, and he thought about his family. Who here thought about God? Any form of God? Who here thought about family? Okay. Who here thought about house upgrades? Finance related things. I'm serious. It proves my point. What friends, family, relationships. This is what you think about in the stairwell. This is what matters. We all know this, but the daily grind, it'll chew you up and spit you out. It will consume you to get your priorities out of whack. So we did that kind of scary exercise for me to just reveal to you. I don't know what all you guys thought about, but whatever you thought about, commit to. Have these fixed commitments to. Don't get caught up in the daily grind and let this life, this crazy life that demands from you, don't let it influence you away from what you thought about in the stairwell. Because what you thought about, you guys, is what actually matters. That's what matters. Not the house upgrades, not the vacations, not any of this other stuff that, like, you're not formally saying this matters more to you, but you get caught up in this. I get caught up in this. And honestly, this is crazy. I don't have kids yet, but I know that these public speeches, the books, the radio, anything, like, it's gonna come back to haunt me. And I love it. Because when I have my own journey gig that I'm being faced with, I'm gonna be hearing the echoes of me telling the stairwell story. So you guys, that's what I want to leave you guys with tonight, is think about what matters to you. Have these conversations with clients about what matters to them as well. And then hold to those commitments. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you. Appreciate it.